stream live. Okay, everyone. Alrighty. Wow, really sorry about that delay. We had some security things going on with Baby Castles recently, so had to change some of our passwords up. So it took me a little longer to get into the stream than usual. Thank you for sticking around. I usually vamp and show something for a little bit at the top of the show, but I'm gonna go ahead and get right into it here. I'm gonna slowly fade out these lo-fi beats and get a little hi-fi Todd in the room, and let's get it going here with a little classic WordHack. What's up, everybody? You're here at WordHack on a Thursday night at the Baby Castle stream. Make some noise with your hands and faces. Woo! Oh, yeah. Oh, making it happen. Yeah. Woo! Oh, the crowd is going wild. Oh, everyone's so pumped. Ah, whoosh. Oh, wow. So great to see you all here. Oh man, what a great time we're gonna have tonight. If this is your first time with us, or even if it isn't, WordHack is a monthly language and technology series. So we're exploring the intersection of language and technology. So how computers and phones and code, how it all changes the way we read and write and think about language. This is a show that's been running every month for the past 6 years, a little over that. We just hit our 6-year anniversary this past July. It's a show we get together every month, usually in the basement of Baby Castles here in New York City, but for the past 6 months or so, we've been getting together online here on the Baby Castles Twitch stream. I'm Todd Anderson. I'm your host. And we've got a great lineup of speakers and presenters here tonight. We're going to be hearing from Dina Kelberman. We're going to be hearing from Sam Lavigne and from Artists for Workers, who are Grayson Earl and Miranda Samuels. Give it up for your featured presenters. Whoa! Psh, psh. There's going to be a lot of applause breaks for a purely online show. So anytime you feel compelled to, feel free to type some clap emojis in the chat. Just the word clap, it all works. It can feel maybe a little alienating, a little lonely to give a talk to just your computer in your room. So I like to take any chance we can get to remind our speakers that there are people here who are listening and enjoying what they're saying. We also have a bit of a WordHack tradition for you that we've continued while doing things online, which is the open projector. So I come from a poetry background, and when I first moved to New York City and just had a stack of poems and no connections, it was really valuable for me to be able to show up at an event and put my name on a piece of paper and then just go up to a microphone and read my bad poem and have some other people and somehow survive that night where no one applauded at my bad poem. But that's how you get to know people. People see your bad poem and they understand the ways in which you are bad. And sometimes it's the same way that they are bad, and you can connect over your mutual badness or goodness. You can connect all kinds of ways. But the bottom line is it can often be hard to introduce yourself to an existing community or existing space. We like to make that, and I find that's especially difficult in a lot of like digital arts or technology sort of spaces. We like to make that a little easier here at WordHack with this thing, the open projector, just like an open mic, except with digital stuff. You get 5-minute slots, and we've got a full open projector for you this evening, which is why I'm kind of just getting right onto it, getting right into the show. Very excited to get started with our open projector. And starting us off on the open projector this month, we have returning WordHack favorite, Nick Montfort. Please give it up for Nick Montfort. I can't keep clapping because I need to switch over the scene, but just imagine and make your own claps.
All right. Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me all right. I'm going to step away from the 8-bit computers and check to make sure you can by looking at the chat.
I can hear you, Nick.
Very well. I do want to show off my 2-core 6502 system that I have set up here. Turns out you can stack a Commodore 64 on top of an Apple II, an Apple IIc specifically, pretty easily. I've been writing for quite a while these one-line basic programs that are based on, in many cases, poems, works of art, also actually existing types of creative computing and earlier one-line programs. And so I'm just going to share 3 of these and tell a little bit about them. So if you know this piece by Ron Padgett, I want to introduce this next work because it's actually related to this. This is Nothing in That Drawer, and it's a sonnet, 14 lines. Each one of the lines is nothing in that drawer, but of course each line is different because it refers to a different drawer, going through a drawer. I think it's a very sad poem. You're encountering this piece of furniture, maybe one of your parents' flat files as an artist, and after their death or something like this, looking, and there's nothing in it. It's empty. And so one question is whether this particular version, this particular poem that is based on that is an infinitely sad or boundlessly sad type of poem. And as you maybe aren't able to see, it simply says, nothing in that drawer, nothing in that drawer, nothing in that drawer. This next piece is based on a work by Alison Parrish, a WordHack regular that many of you may know. And it's based on this one, Every Word, a project on Twitter that began with aardvark, ended with A2E, oddly enough, and involved tweeting every word, whatever that means, in the English language. And so this is my version of Every Word. Possibly a little bit of a challenge to see, but it begins with 0000. It ends with FFFF if we wait long enough. But oddly enough, if you look closely, you'll see that it's the first 2 digits that are going rapidly and the second 2 that are going slowly. So let me ask in the chat, why is that? Are people aware of this odd order? Just like Alison Parrish's Every Word had a very unusual type of alphabetization where accented characters occurred after the letter Z. Why would we have this particular order for the words that are showing? Aha, yes, it's the Indianness. The 6502 is a little Indian processor, so the order of 2 bytes together, the address that's used, actually goes in this way for this processor. And I'm going to switch over to our Commodore 64 here and show this last piece, which is based on Glenn Ligon's untitled painting, I Am a Man, a complex work. There's a whole book on it that the MIT Press has, which I encourage you to look at. But among other things, among many things, investigation of materiality, maybe a critique of masculinity and its association with humanity and the role of men and women in uh, African American struggle for rights. It's also a memorialization of the 1968 sanitation workers strike. And so this is a one-line program, and the phrase you might imagine that's going by is "I am a man." That also seeks to memorialize through Glenn Ligon's work that same event. And you might look at it and think that there's funny things about a computer saying "I am a man" repeatedly, but it's a way of calling attention, in my view, to the individuality of the participants in that march, and also to the unity of their message, that they carried the same signs, but they're different people. And I think all of these works that I'm engaging with through this practice are complex, and I'm trying to extend their complexities to emphasize things that I find interesting about them, but also to elaborate on them in different ways. I hope that even in a line of basic, that's possible in a lot of cases. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Nick. Let's give it up for Nick Montfort. Woo! All right. Fantastic. Okay, so coming up next on the Open Projector, and I promise I will have the canned YouTube clap track that you've come to expect from WordHack ready soon, so we can join a much bigger audience going forward. But please give it up in your homes for Ryan Patterson. Ryan, are you here?
Yeah, hopefully it's good.
All right. So yeah, please give it up for Ryan. Woo!
Cool. Thank you. I wanted to show the website that I made for writing exquisite corpse haiku. So each person writes a different line of the haiku, and by the end, you just have like a kind of mixed together haiku. And so I made this website as part of the School for Poetic Computation's Teaching as Art class. Everyone got to lead a workshop, and I made one for one about haiku. And so this website was meant to be something to kind of ease people into writing and just kind of have something fun to do. But for it to work, I need like more than just me. And so what I was hoping to do, and kind of the reason that I wanted to share it here, was just to like write with all of you. So I'm going to like put the link to the website into the Twitch chat. So if you can open that up, you'll see that link, and then can join me over on the website. Because I feel like it's really awkward to just like look at me on the screen. I'll also like share my screen if that's okay to
Yeah,
show
sounds great.
the site. And so I can see that like a few of you have already joined by the circles. So the circles are the people, and you're the circle in the bottom of the screen at the middle. If you click it, you'll change colors so you can set the color that you like. But yeah, so if you write a line and submit it, it'll kind of send it, and then it'll wait for somebody else's to give you a second line to put the second line in. And it might take a little bit of time because people have to write the lines. But once a poem is complete, somebody has added a line for all three of them. It'll show up in the bottom. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. It doesn't do any like enforcement of the syllables, so you can kind of like freeform just write whatever type of poetry you want. But it will have the three lines, and so I was just hoping to like write with all of you for maybe a minute or so and get like a haiku or two. If you finish, you can just kind of start over again. Um, it's a little bit intimidating to me to like write as I'm sharing the screen, but I'll do it just so we can kind of like get to um, the final one if that's cool. But I won't be talking because I'll be writing, and hopefully you are too. but yeah, I don't know like how long to keep going because I don't want to just like have it be weird of just kind of like sitting here. But that's kind of just what I wanted to show. I got a few poems. Hopefully you did too, or you can kind of keep going to get your poems. I will at least submit this line. So whoever submitted this line will hopefully get a poem. But yeah, I've got a couple here, and this is really all I wanted to show. So thank you. I'm on the West Coast. I haven't been able to join until this came online, and I've really enjoyed it. I thought it's been great. So also just wanted to say thank you.
Cool. Thanks so much for joining us, Ryan. This was rad. And if anyone wants to drop their haiku in chat, so we can see some of the good ones, or some of the bad ones, or really some of any of them, that'd be great. But yeah, let's give it up for Ryan. Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Glad to have you join us from the West Coast. So up next on the Open Projector, we have Jason Scherer. Please give it up for Jason. All right, here we go, Jason. Woo!
Hi, I'm Jason. I have been working for the past year on, I'm just going to call it, I'm going to be really ambitious here and just call it Max MSP for writers. Basically, I want to create a platform so that you can do cool things with text, but also integrate with other things like computer graphics with music, whatever. It's better probably just to show it. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is a little thing I did in Vodka. The name of the platform is called Vodka. It's a programming language. You just saw the tail end of the poem there, but it's like a random walk. This is something you might do in Flash or something like that. It's like a computer graphics-y visually text thing. I'm going to show you how I built it. So this is Vodka itself, the programming language. It's based on Lisp. So this is a begin statement if you know Lisp, except I use rectangles instead of parentheses because that's better. You can basically just write text like it's a word processor, but it bundles up what you're writing into lists, which are an important data structure in Lisp, because then you use lists to, well, do everything in Lisp, basically, if you've ever programmed in Lisp. So similar to Max MSP, you have two ways of looking at this program. This is all the code. I'm scrolling down to show the whole thing. When I hit this, when I run this command right here, it creates basically something that looks kind of like garbage, but when I hit escape, it goes into view mode. This is what you actually, what the, I guess what you want to present. It's like the present mode in Max MSP. This is more like I call it the exploded mode. You can actually see all the little bits and pieces of it. So I'm going to run start on this. Okay, and these little indicators are showing the progress along the animation. Here's the poem. We're going through it one by one, and there's here's my function down here that's formatting the text, giving it a width and a height, and then putting it in the left, top, right, bottom. So it's basically, you write code to do cool things with text. And so what I'm doing with this is, my goal is to sort of write a poem as often as possible, and then find out, oh, it's turning yellow because it's calling that function. Write a poem, debug it, figure out what went wrong or what I wanted Vodka to be able to do, make some changes to the platform, go back and write another poem, and sort of do that in like an iterative back and forth way to essentially develop the platform, develop its capabilities, but also have some creative output. It's a poem I wrote about basically being in quarantine. I'm in this place. I never go anywhere. I'm here. Here I am. Just here. And so, yeah, that's kind of the whole deal. Here's some more code. This is the code. This is the function that reads through the lines of the poem and spits them out. What else? Oh, this is my random walk here. It's rotating some vectors to be able to draw that sort of feathery random walk thing that I'm doing. Yeah, I don't know, just kind of showing off this code at this point. All these little objects here, as I said, look pretty messy when you're looking at this in exploded view. And that really wouldn't be how you would, like what I do is I go into view mode essentially, and I export a video and I post that to Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and that's what people see. But this wireframe stuff is showing you all the individual objects and pieces of what's happening. I want to make like a YouTube video telling people how to make stuff in Vodka, because there's a lot here and I can't really go into it in 5 minutes. So anyway, I'm EEEEAAII on Twitter if you want to find me there. And that's where I post updates about this stuff. It's 4 E's and 2 A's and then 2 I's. And that's it. That's Vodka. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Jason. Give it up for Jason. And let's keep that applause going for our next Open Projector presenter, who is Quinlan Maggio. Give it up for Quinlan. Woo!
Hello. Sorry about that. Hey everyone, my name's Quinlan. I'm an artist and a UX designer. I'm also a student at Hunter College's MFA program for visual art. And I'm just gonna read a little bit of something that I wrote a couple months ago, and I'm gonna share my screen to make it super easy to follow along. Okay. I had an idea to treat making art like a job. I became the CEO of my art. I started waking up at 4:30 a.m. for a long morning walk like Steve Jobs. I exercised before breakfast like Cheryl. I dressed for success like Sundar. It wasn't a persona, it was a job. In the office, I was deemed a high performer. If art was a job, then maybe I'd be able to make something. I got a coffee maker. I bought an ergonomic chair. I broke the day into 15-minute blocks. Time to eat, time for coffee, sleep 7.5 hours, exercise, creative time, email time, family time. I typed long, anxious notes into Google Calendar events. I rescheduled my emotions for a later date. I had an idea to make a career transition from software designer to artist. I had an idea to question my upward mobility. I had an idea to close some doors. I had an idea to apply for jobs I didn't want so I could turn them down. I really wanted an offer from Amazon. I cleaned up my website. I joined LinkedIn Premium. AWS ignored me. I watched each application move from in review to archived. Maybe they found my signature on the petition, "No work for Amazon New York," in opposition to their proposed headquarters in Queens. Audible didn't seem to care. They had already successfully gentrified their neighborhood in Newark. They emphasize converted cathedral building and free meals. IBM emails me every week with new job listings. Palantir uses a friendly tone in their emails. I let Raytheon go to voicemail. I blew off Comcast. I streamed my Twitch interview. Michelle works at Facebook, so taking their calls in our living room is awkward. The Morgan Stanley office is across from the ACLU. In the marble lobby, there's a grand piano. Anyone can play, but only on Mondays and Wednesdays between 3 and 5 p.m. It's Tuesday, 10 a.m., and I sneak a selfie with the sign out front. I meet Michael, the hiring manager, in the lobby. He is very apologetic about the misunderstanding last week. We go up into the elevator and into a glass conference room. I express a genuine interest in finance, but lie about wanting to work on his team. We work through some hypothetical problems on the whiteboard. At the end of our 3 hours together, he lets me down easy. I start to feel bad about my experiment. None of these companies want me or my premature rejection. I learned something about leverage. 2 more. Most of my friends are artists. They work as nannies, bartenders, artist assistants, art handlers in the retail and service industries. They're classified as independent contractors, no benefits. I wanted to support my friends, so I took out a loan for my living expenses. Every Friday, I pay my bills and funnel the rest of my paycheck into an LLC. At the end of 2 qualifying pay periods, about 6 months, I lay them off. I hire my friend to make their art for an hourly wage, and then I lay them off. They file for unemployment benefits. I do not contest their claim. I cheerfully pay the unemployment insurance each time it goes up. Last one. I had an idea that a crush can get you through any shitty workday. I had a dream about the soft-spoken vegetarian engineer. The following day, we met to discuss our new project. Late in the afternoon, he opened up to me about the state of his failing marriage. He sought the verbal permission to fuck, just end it already, ditch couples counseling, pursue the dream of building yet another online education platform. I have real users now, he said. I blushed. A few months later, he told me about the 23-year-old girl in Mexico City. They had fallen in love via webcam. I quit my job. The unemployment scheme went under. So that's it. I'll drop a link where you can read the rest of my piece. Oh, I should have shown, I built it on something called itty.bitty, which just lets you dump like a code pen and it just hosts it. I don't know. I'm not a programmer, but thank you.
All right. Thank you, Quinlan. Alrighty. What a great open projector we're having. We've got one final presenter on the open projector, and very excited to have them close things out. We have here with us Bryant Smith, aka Cowboy Elijah. Give it up for Cowboy Elijah. Woo.
One, two, three. If you're watching this on Twitch, make sure you navigate to holyspace.baby. If you're watching this on Twitch, I sure hope they remember to go to holyspace.baby instead of just watching it on the Twitch feed. I hope and pray that they remember to go to holyspace.baby instead of just watching it on the Twitch feed. I hope that they remember to go to holyspace.baby and watch it in the browser instead of just watching it on the Twitch feed. Oh, okay, all right, Elijah, get ready for the performance. We're going to do a great ceremony. Yeehaw! Okay, from the chest. Yeehaw! Oh my goodness, you're here already. The name is Cowboy Elijah, and our ceremony begins now. I have summoned ye here to this magical campfire for a little ritual of reincarnation. Now, I know what you're thinking. In order to be reborn, you must first die. Now, I've got you covered. I'm going to do the hard part for you. I'm going to kill you right now with my electric trombone. That sound good? Brothers, sisters, and siblings, it is my deep and solemn duty to inform you that you are now deceased. Rest in peace. Huh. That wasn't so bad, you think to yourself. I wonder what all them philosophers was fussing about. Anyway, are you ready to be reborn in your true form? You find yourself in an infant body with no recollection of your past life whatsoever, and you think to yourself that that's kind of nice. And you also have the ability to choose a color by navigating around the browser viewport, which is probably less impressive to this crowd, but I thought it was nice. And you are so thirsty from your trip. Positively parched, probably all that reincarnating business. Oh my, what's this up here? Is that, well, maybe just one sip or 2 or 10. I'm sure there will be no repercussions. And you ain't never tasted a brew so delicious, but just what was in that bottle. And you find yourself flung through the multiverse at light speed. All around you, portals, rips in space-time fly by. Maybe they contain alternate universes. I don't know, I'm not a scientist, I'm a prophet. Anyway, click to peek inside.
I squeeze 3 at your cherry and recently, frontin' ain't saying nothing, so I just keep my peace, keep my peace, you want the Jesus peace, with my peace, asking who the Brooklyn Bull, we on it. I put NY onto DKNY.
Not the best place to break that song. Anyway, you find yourself floating there, meditating and pondering on all the things that you just saw. Brothers, sisters, and siblings, that concludes the time I have to demonstrate for you my weekly ceremony in progress. I hope you enjoy this new life that you've been given through this spiritual journey, and you make some good choices with it. We could always use a fresh start. Brothers, sisters, and siblings, go in peace. Praise be. Hallelujah.
Come on. Hot, sicker than your average. Pop a twist cabbage off instinct. Just don't think, shit stink. Pink Gators, my Detroit players. Tim's for my hooligans.
Don't forget to sign the mailing list. Whoa, find out what happens next in the story. Give me your data. I want your data. Woo.
So I just keep my peace, Cubans with the Jesus piece, with my peace, packing, asking who want it, you got it, flaunt it, that Brooklyn boom, we on it.
Sometimes the words is hypnotizing, and I just love your fashion blazer. This is why the road to looks so clean. Biggie, can't you see? Sometimes your words just hypnotize me.
All right. Thank you so much, Cowboy Elijah, aka Brian Smith. That was a really amazing performance. Let's give it up one more time for Cowboy Elijah and for all of our performers on the Open Projector. Oh yeah. I'm feeling truly alive right now. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling very, very alive. Again, that's holyspace.baby, where you can check out more from Cowboy Elijah. Trying to start a whole new kind of streaming performance here, and I'm sure he'd appreciate you joining in again. Great, thanks so much, and thanks so much for being with us here tonight, everyone. I'm very excited to be able to introduce our first speaker. Unfortunately, originally we were going to have Lazer-Walker present as part of tonight's lineup, but unfortunately she was feeling sick this week. But heroically, we were able to have a last-minute addition to the lineup. Very excited to have him. He's a returning WordHack speaker and a really amazing artist. Sam Lavigne does a lot of really excellent kind of culture jamming work, messing with corporations, scraping the internet, creating really fun sorts of twists on our modern corporate world. Really excited to see what he has to share for you all. Please give it up for Sam Lavigne.
Thanks, Todd. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, there I am. Great. Great. Well, that's a hard one to follow up. So I'll just do my best here. This was a little bit last minute for me, so I'm going to sort of do an off the cuff presentation of some recent projects. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen to get going here. Hopefully I'll remember to check all the right boxes. And yes. Okay. Here we go. Yeah. Okay, great. That looks like it's working. So yeah, I'm Sam Lavigne. I'm an artist and a teacher. My work is primarily about the internet and also primarily on the internet. And as Todd mentioned, I frequently use a technique called web scraping. And I think probably a lot of people in the audience here might be already familiar, but in case you're not, web scraping just means when you write a program to browse the web on your behalf. So, if you wanted to, for reasons, who knows why, get a list of every single chair for sale on Craigslist, you could go and search for chairs and then copy each image onto your computer manually, or you could write a program to do it for you. And that's what web scraping is. And my interest in web scraping is really motivated by sort of a question of how we can come to terms with the fact that everything we do online And also offline, if there's even really kind of like a valid distinction between online and offline in 2020. But everything we do online is, it's tracked, it's exploited, it's mined for profit, and that all of our individual sort of seemingly ephemeral traces that we leave behind become converted into structured data and stored in perpetuity somewhere. And that these human experiences we have online are then turned into predictive models and into business models. And this kind of leads into a broader question about what should be a commodity and what shouldn't be a commodity. So, what we allow as a society to be bought and sold. So one response to this current model of the internet is to attempt to invert that basic online power structure and exploit what I think of as a fundamental contradiction of the internet, that even as you're leaving your traces online for those in power to make use of, those in power are also leaving their traces online, right? And that through leaving traces, through leaving these traces, certain truths can become visible and they can crystallize into something. This inversion is something that I call scrapism, which is totally just a made up word that I invented. But scrapism is the use of web scraping and data collection as an artistic or cultural practice. So scrapism combines data journalism, conceptual art, archiving, hoarding in some kind of attempt to extract data from behind these various web interfaces that are mediating our lives, to relocate it and to use it for emotional, critical, or poetic ends rather than like instrumental ends. So this is like through this process of collecting, filtering, and sorting content, we can reveal and possibly, maybe sometimes undermine power structures. Yeah, so the premise of scrapism is that everything we need to know about power is kind of like online, hiding in plain sight. So I'm going to show you a few projects today that are kind of in the scrapism genre, I guess. The first two are actually collaborations with my partner, whose name is Tika Brain. And the first one is called New York Apartment. Someone in the chat asked, is scraping, someone says, sounds illegal. And it's not illegal, but that doesn't mean it doesn't get you into trouble sometimes. But anyway, okay. So New York Apartment. New York Apartment is kind of this like ultimate New York City apartment, which combines into one page every single for sale real estate listing that I scraped from Zillow. So the cost of New York Apartment, like when you take all of the for sale apartments and put them together, the cost of New York Apartment is like $43 billion. There's 65,000 bedrooms, 55,000 bathrooms, 36 million square feet. And this website, which you can explore, is like an attempt to kind of like, take everything that would be on like a regular real estate page and just kind of clump it together. So it starts with the, all of the questions that are on the listings, like, are you in love with pre-war? Are you looking for a charming, well-priced one-bedroom home in a sought-after area? Are you looking for a cozy, elegant home close to all that is held dear to a New Yorker? Are you looking for a deal? Are you looking for a great investment home? Are you looking for a loft? It goes on forever. So you got the questions. We then follow with a breakdown of every single image on all of the listings. So these are all of the bedrooms, for example, 20,000 images of bedrooms that you can kind of sort through. It's interesting because like some of them, like a lot of these are what are called staged images, right? Where like the real estate company or whatever like goes in and designs the apartment. And some of them you can tell are like just like regular people's houses, and they're not professionally photographed. So yeah, so we got the bathrooms, we got the kitchens, 14,000 kitchens, the dining rooms, the living rooms, the doorways. Sometimes it doesn't know what a doorway is. Closets, exteriors, and the gyms, which I really like. I love the gyms. So you can just spend some time going through that. And then there's descriptions of the listing. So these are all just like all the sentences that start with the phrase the apartment. And again, it kind of goes for quite some time here. I like this part. The apartment faces north and east with windows in both directions. The apartment faces north and west and provides one of the quietest exposures in the building. The apartment faces north and has open views. The apartment faces south, east, and west. The apartment faces west. The apartment faces west. The apartment faces a courtyard, and so on. This is followed. So part of the project also, it's like, we just got everything, right? And part of this was floor plans. So a lot of times you'll see floor plans in real estate listings these days. So downloaded all the floor plans and then used some someone else's machine learning software that kind of figured out what the geometries of the floor plans were and then extruded them and then built out these various 3D structures that you could explore that actually are kind of all of the floor plans for all of the New York apartments. So this is in one version of it, it's this kind of grid that you can explore, this sort of rat maze, and you can kind of just go around and have a good time. I won't spend too long doing this because it's boring to see someone else use a computer, but you sort of get the point. And then in addition, we have the apartment as a tower, as a pyramid, and as an extremely thin tower. And then, so I'm just looking at the comments. So, okay, what else is on a real estate listing? It's videos. They make videos these days. This is a, God, how long is this one? This is a almost 4-hour long video of just virtual tours. I obviously won't subject you to it for too long, but I do guarantee that if you watch it for 10 minutes, something will happen to your mind. And then also a bunch of other videos that are sort of super cuts of different things that people like to say, so just the word welcome, for example.
Welcome.
Or welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
Kind of play them at the same time.
Welcome. 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 Welcome.
Beautiful.
Welcome. Welcome.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, beautiful. This is beautiful.
Welcome. Welcome.
Welcome. Beautiful.
Welcome. Beautiful.
Welcome. Welcome. Beautiful. Beautiful. Welcome. The line stainless steel. Welcome.
Beautiful.
Welcome.
Beautiful.
Welcome. Stainless steel.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Welcome.
Welcome. And beautiful. Welcome. Welcome.
And welcome.
That's fun. One of my favorite here is they say the word pre-war a lot, which I think is an especially interesting phrase in September 2020. Then we have adjective nouns. I won't bother reading, but you can see that goes on for a while too. And almost last, the mortgage calculator, a very important component of any real estate listing. You can plug in your loan term, your salary, down payment, interest rate. And, I can see that, my estimated monthly payment would be $252 million. And that I would own, it would be this much of my monthly salary. And I could also see how much of the apartment I would be able to afford. And then finally, we sort of changed this a little bit. This is all of the real estate agents. In the original version of this, I was trying to do something where you could actually call them. And actually there's a feature where you could try to message all of them at one time. They're kind of put everybody, all of the real estate agents into one big SMS chat. But then for various reasons, I removed that part of the project and just have this part, which is just the, their first names. If you click on it, it just emails me. So nothing untoward going on here. So that's the New York apartment. Okay. So the next project is called Get Well Soon, and it's also a web scraping project. This is and as well as another collaboration with TigaBrain. The idea of Get Well Soon is that it's kind of a giant, almost never-ending get well e-card, and it's made entirely of well wishes that we scraped from the website GoFundMe. So as I'm sure you're all familiar, GoFundMe is a crowdfunding website that's used primarily to raise money for medical expenses. And of course, this is like a direct consequence of our like nightmarishly bad medical system. It's not an easy website to scrape. Actually, neither was Zillow. They're both like sort of hard. They make it difficult for you to get the data off of them. So for this project, we looked for different disease names. We just searched for different disease names and then found different fundraising pages and just downloaded the comments off of them. So when you make a donation to someone's fundraiser, you might leave a nice comment wishing them well. And these are all of those comments, all those sentences. It's 200,000 sentences in total. It's grouped and it's sorted alphabetically. And it goes on again for quite a long time. So I'm not going to read too many. I'll just read a little bit from the very beginning. All my best to you, all my best and get well soon, all my best and most positive wishes to you and your family, all my best blessing to you, all my best brother, all my best darling, all my best dear friend, all my best during the tragic time, all my best for health and happiness, all my best for a full and speedy recovery. All my best for this worthy cause, all my best for your full recovery, and so on. In a way, this is like a contradictory archive, right? Because on the one hand, it's an archive containing these messages of really like what I think are like really genuine solidarity and hope, right? And on the other hand, it's an archive that shouldn't exist, right? This archive is the product of total systemic failure. So this essay is also, this project is also accompanied by an essay from the writer Johanna Hedva. She's based in Berlin. She writes a lot about illness, and in this short essay, which you could read if you want to, she's sort of connecting up ideas around the language of care and the language of revolution. So I'll just read the very end. Care so often feels as though it has to be given to you by somebody else. And this can also seem how revolution feels. We wait for the change to be given to us by those in control. We hope for those in power to come to their senses. So many activists know that as power can be taken, it can be taken back. As care can be given, we can also take it. I've always found solace in the fact that the words caregiver and caretaker mean the same thing. We take care, we give care, and it can be contagious, it can be spread. It shows us that the limit of the world is always a place to be exploded, pushed against, transformed. Meet me there at the end, where there is give and take, and let's follow each other into the beginning. Yeah, so that's other orders. And then I'll just show you, one more project and end it. Yeah, so those previous two works, Get Well Soon and New York Apartment, they're made like fundamentally of sorted lists, right? The material of those projects are lists that I've sorted in different ways. They're lists of images, lists of videos, lists of texts, and I love lists. I really love lists, as you can tell. And when you sort of as you sort of consider what the internet is, you realize more and more that the entire internet is just sort of like a big sorted list. So search results in Google, that's a sorted list. Video recommendations in YouTube, that's a sorted list. Tweets you see in Twitter, right? Those are lists. And I kind of wanted to draw out how some of these, but when you look at Twitter or Google results, you're not necessarily thinking of it, oh, like this is like a list that a person sorted. It's not. It's like a list that was sorted by a machine learning system, right? And these machine learning systems are frequently opaque. and they frequently lead us to, down certain paths, right? So like people have been writing a lot about how the YouTube recommendation algorithm leads people towards radical right-wing content. So I wanted to like draw out how these mostly opaque systems that mediate what we see and how we communicate are just, in fact, these really just different ways of sorting content. And I was curious to see what would happen if there was like, maybe we could come up with a different way of sorting content that attempted to have a different outcome than, say, like Twitter's sorting algorithm. So I made this thing, Other Orders, which is a tool for sorting text and tweets. And the way that it works is that, well, I'll tell you what, so it gives you 30 different ways to sort text. A few of these ways are alphabetical. You can sort things alphabetically with Other Orders. You can sort things apocalyptically. In that case, items are ordered relative to how intensely they refer to global catastrophe. You can sort them by approximate quantity of shame expressed, which means that they're ordered relative to their semantic similarity to phrases that express remorse, regret, shame, and embarrassment. You can sort them in a Kafkaesque sort. So they're ordered then relative to their semantic similarity to a phrase which is a distilled and inadequate interpretation of Kafka's writing, that phrase being, hope exists, but not for us. My father judges me. Length of text, percentage of words which are filler words. One of my favorites is similarity to drill tweets. So you can just sort, a novel in terms of how each sentence is similar to a drill tweet. And like I said, you can run this on your Twitter, which I think is like a really nice way to. I'm not going to run it on mine right now because like I don't know what's on there, but you can run it on your. You can log in and do it yourself. Try it on your Twitter feed, or what you can do is you can download it and run it on any text that you want to, and you could kind of look. I made like a little interface where you could sort of go through and pick some just like top 100 Gutenberg texts, and then sort them by the different sorts in the system. So right, this is like most crudely understood Marxism sentences in Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. All the profits of labor in which they might improve their position and gain leisure for themselves, and after that education, all the surplus values are taken from them by the capitalists. Okay, great. So that sort of works, right? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I'll just show you a few of my other kind of favorite little snippets. So this is most similarity to drill, i.e. drillism in Candide by Voltaire. Candide caressed his sheep. And I actually think that does sound to me like something that Drill would tweet. The sweethearts, he soothed up my wounds and his wife even nursed me. Most eroticism as an approximation of similarity to a sentence by Anais Nin in Frankenstein. The murderous mark of the fiend's grasp was on her neck, and the breath had ceased to issue from her lips. They put it into a bed and rubbed it, and Daniel went to the town for an apothecary, but life was quite gone. And here, most apocalyptic most apocalyptic sentences in Emma by Jane Austen. Now will be the time. I am very much afraid that it will all end in nothing. It is time for us to be going indeed, and so on. And I'm going to end it there, but I will say that if this is something that's interesting to you, I'm putting together a set of resources that lives under scrapism.lav.io. And it's kind of like my attempt to do a series of like video lectures and written tutorials about how to use web scraping, again, more specifically for like doing like cultural critique or kind of like integrating it into your artistic practice. I did stop doing this for a while. I got a little bit like waylaid, but I'm going to get back into it soon, especially if anyone is interested here. So thank you so much, and I will leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Sam. Thanks so much for being here with us. Let's give it up for Sam Lavigne. Yeah, there's that applause. Fantastic. All right, everybody, we're at about the halfway portion of our show. which means it's time for another WordHack Online tradition, which is the 4-minute saxophone break, where you can go to the bathroom, go grab a drink, go say hello to someone, and not miss any of that sweet, sweet WordHack content. We'll be back tonight, very soon. Let me get up tonight's saxophone selection. So tonight we will have returning WordHack saxophone favorite, Dave Kaz. And Dave Kaz is going to be presenting together again. So we'll be back once this video is done playing, or once this song is done playing. Stick around. It's about 4 minutes long. All right. That concludes our saxophone break, and we've got a shout out. We've got a subscriber here, so thank you to Sissy Anasta for the 1 month subscription here to the Baby Castles channel. Appreciate that. And I gotta do. Oh no, my stream is getting all messed up. I'll just do a quick plug before we get back into everything. If you're enjoying the stream, you're enjoying this content from Baby Castles, and you are not yet a member, there is a great way you can support Baby Castles by becoming a member. So I'm going to head on over to babycastles.com. WordHack is brought to you by Baby Castles. That's our usual home, and this year we have some funding from the NYC Department of Cultural Affairs and the LMCC to help present WordHack. But if you would like to help support Baby Castles and help support future WordHacks, you can go to babycastles.com, click this Become a Member button. And while we love when people like and subscribe on our Twitch channel, really the best possible way to support Baby Castles now and into the future is to become one of our members. We've got all of these great options here. We've got $1 a month, $5 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month. Get entry to events. You get some great merch, button, sticker, enamel pin. You get some regular software. Again, that's withfriends.co/babycastles/join. Oh wow, and if we have any Tinder gorillas among us, get that $100 a month top level Baby Castles membership. That money really helps support all the things we're doing on Baby Castles. Again, we're an in-person DIY space trying to adapt to become an internet streaming organization, and your support really helps us in that. I also want to quickly announce that we have our Baby Castles residency open call, which you can check out on babycastles.com/residency, and that deadline for applying is Friday, September 25th, 11:59 p.m. So that's a really cool way to become a kind of remote resident at Baby Castles, but you'll have a lot of support with the other artists there and with our Baby Castles staff. We've got some great guest judges here. You can hang out and be friends with this bear remotely, unfortunately. But check that out. We've got a really exciting for all kinds of game makers, digital artists, makers. It's a ___ in residence. And if I know anything about the WordHack audience, we got a whole bunch of underscores around here. So that's all for our Baby Castles plug. Really excited to pass over to our next speaker, who are Artists for Workers. We've been doing a lot of really great kind of culture jamming work and advocacy around labor relations in museums, represented tonight by Grayson Earl, but the group also includes Miranda Samuels. Please give it up for Artists for Workers. And let me switch over. Oh my gosh, my stream got all bungled. Let me switch over to the main cam, and let's give it up for Artists for Workers. With just regular claps. I don't have the applause sound effect because I played saxophone on my YouTube screen. Oh yeah, but you need to make even louder claps from home. All right.
Cool. You can hear me all right?
Yep, I can hear you.
Great. Yeah, so unfortunately Miranda couldn't make it, but I just want to echo that she did, at least as much work to make all this possible. So shout out to Miranda. Let's see. I mean, I'm gonna just jump right into it. This has been a kind of the development of an organization of sorts that took place after an intervention that was put together by a couple of people from Artists for Workers. It basically centered around the Hans Haacke retrospective at the New Museum. So just really quickly, shrink this a bit. Hans Haacke is a German-American artist who made systems art. Sometimes it took the form of a sort of science experiment, like this transparent cube with a closed loop evaporation system inside. This one's from 1963, I think, 67, 63. And then he kind of moved on to primarily making work that was more about kind of social systems. So this was, a question posed in the MoMA Museum. Would the fact that Governor Rockefeller has not denounced President Nixon's Indochina policy be a reason for you not to vote for him in November? And so you can kind of see like the public opinion getting rendered here inside of the gallery space. And, as you might expect, at least now, you can see that there's sort of like a more like liberal leaning crowd sort of making their way through the museum and, making their voices heard in that way. So at his recent retrospective at the New Museum, because again, he was making this work in like the 60s and 70s, which is important to remember. He had this survey on the top floor where there were like 20 questions and you filled it out on an iPad. And so these are some of the questions that he was asking. And then the results showed up on the screen in the same space. So like kind of gathering some demographic information. How old are you? Do you have a professional interest in art? Do you live in a country where works by artists are censored? How much money have you spent in total buying works of art? And so like the point of all this is to like create some basic demographic information that you could then use to like cross-reference statistically for questions like this. Do you think sponsorship of art exhibitions by banks and corporations has an effect on the kind of exhibitions art institutions present and what is included or omitted from them? Scientists warn that climate change will have a devastating global consequences unless drastic measures are taken immediately to prevent them. Do you think business and political leaders are doing what is needed? And then this is the question that we kind of took as our primary target. A global wealth report of 2013 by Credit Suisse, a major Swiss bank, stated the lower half of the global population collectively owns less than 1% of global wealth, while the richest 10% of adults own 87% of all wealth, and the top 1% account for almost half of all assets in the world. What is your opinion of this? Such inequality needs to be corrected. Accumulation of wealth should not be interfered with, and I don't know. And so the reason that this question kind of stood out to us when we were in the space is because, clearly the museum is showing Hans as a radical artist and kind of like, profiting or gaining some sort of cultural capital from like having an artist like that in the space. But the thing is, at the same time, the New Museum was actively engaged in union busting its workers who were trying to organize. There's a bunch of articles out about this and you can look into that. But, it's sort of like they're putting these radical artists on display and doing these sorts of projects and then co-opting that sentiment while simultaneously working against the very sort of thing that this art is sort of, trying to talk about. And so the goal became to kind of like hack the installation. And, that's also just like a fun technical question of how to do it. And at first I was sort of like, well, I'm not like that sophisticated, but maybe like, go in with a Raspberry Pi and like, check out all what's going on in the traffic and then talk to my friends who are better at this stuff and figure it out. But then I noticed that they also print the information out, all the sort of that cross-referenced data that I was hinting at, like, oh, people who spend this much on art also think that censorship is bad and so on. And at the bottom of these booklets that they print out at the beginning of every week, which take into account all of the new answers that they've received on the surveys. And I think by the time we got there were like 14,000 responses or something. Anyway, at the bottom of this booklet, I saw the URL, visitors poll NM netlify /correlations. And so when you go there, it's like some kind of, it's nothing. I don't think it was like a login prompt or something. But if you replace the last word with poll, then you get the poll that's running on all the iPads. And so I wrote a script in Grease Monkey, which basically like allows you to inject JavaScript into a website to answer the questions automatically. And yeah, no, and the title for this totally writes itself, right? Hans Hake. And so we basically like randomized all of the responses except for that number 14, because what we wanted to do is actually like change the results of the poll to show the actual position of the museum rather than the museum going public, which, like, surprise, surprise, is sort of liberal. And we all, we sort of think that income inequality is bad, but clearly the museum doesn't have a problem with that. And so this is, we had to kind of like be strategic about when we ran this. And so we decided to do it the weekend before the last week run of the show, because we knew at a certain point they were going to figure out what had happened. Especially because, like I said, they started with 14,000 responses, and then you can see, so then we ran it starting on like Saturday night through all of Sunday. And then Monday morning, I went there right as the museum opened and saw that it had worked. And at the bottom, you can see there are 90,000 responses here. And so we were able to swing the results from, I should have had a before picture, sort of stupid of me, but it was like 2% of people thought that accumulation of wealth should not be interfered with. And then now we've of course like swung it to 85%. And then by the end of the day, it was like 99% or something. And what's also really interesting is that it made it into those printed booklets. And so all of the cross-reference data had this like, well, first of all, it had this response like, no one cares about, oh, this is the wrong question, but whatever, you can see it's really funny. There's like, oh, all these people who made, more than $5 million or whatever. But it made it into the printed book. And then the museum actually, like, they sort of reversed it, but then we got access again. And so now it's, much to their dismay, part of the Hans Haacke piece forever is like this manipulated data. And then of course, like with any of these projects, the goal in part is to like leverage it to get into the press cycle so that you can sort of like force a response from the museum. And so that's, part of what we do in a way is try and kind of like, intervene on that level. So then the new museum continued to do what they were doing, and they were like there were some like rumors that they were going to fire the union, the people who were organizing the union, which they ended up doing not so long ago. And so this was kind of like at the height of a lot of the demonstrations that were going on, and of course it's like post-COVID and stuff. And so the museum had boarded up its facade. And this is in contrast to what the Brooklyn Museum did, for example, which was open its lobby to protesters who they could go to the bathroom there. They also opened up the amphitheater for people to do speak outs and that kind of thing. And, I have criticisms of the Brooklyn Museum too, but there's like a clear difference in the way that these museums were acting. And so, yeah, they had like a clear desire to protect the building from what they thought would be damage to it. As opposed to what the Brooklyn Museum did. It sort of begged the question for us, like, what is the purpose of a museum? And I would say that it's naive to think that museums should be progressive entities that shepherd valuable movement building. But then again, the new museum itself is putting Hans Haacke's work on display. So clearly they're interested in manufacturing the appearance of being a progressive institution at the very least. And so we kind of like came back again with a new project. This was half was like posters that we made. This isn't actually on the new museum facade. I posted the wrong photo, but this is like around the block. We did a bunch of them. But they're done in the new museum branding style, of course. Let's see, new museum, same old bullshit, different crisis, same commitment to the status quo, as a way to just sort of talk about the museums in action during the most important and interesting social rights thing that has happened in recent history, right? And we also created the newmuseum.net. Let this be a lesson to you all. Own your .nets. So this is a website that we put up that's clearly like just a sort of ripped off version of the new museum's website. And we changed all of the content on it to think about this question of like, what would a museum that's acting on behalf of its community actually look like? And so, what's on Occupy City Hall was happening at that time. There were these like really cool lists going around. this informational thing on how to topple a public statue, things that would be like actually great for the museum to have been doing at that time. Upcoming events, conversation, our police workers, performances, staff rescues museum archive from massive flooding. Museum features photographs from 2020 BLM movement, 20 years after refusing to open its doors to the same movement, and so on. And so, you know, we don't want to just be hammering on the new museum when there are clearly other places that deserve a little bit of criticism. And so for this one, we bought GuggenheimIE.net. Not quite as good, but you know, it's fine. And so we had been paying attention to what was going on with the Guggenheim unionization efforts. Thanks for putting that in the chat. So in June of 2019, workers at the Guggenheim voted to join Local 30, the union representing installers and maintenance workers at MoMA PS1. The union represents more than 100 workers at the Guggenheim, including art handlers and facilities staff working in exhibition construction. They have since been met with the administration stonewalling their efforts, including simply not showing up to bargaining meetings, which I hear is very illegal. The unionizing staff has asked the Guggenheim's trustees to intervene and influence the reluctant management. And so, and their list, these are them in this photo, some of the people who are organizing that workplace. And their demands include wages commensurate with other New York City museums. They happen to be getting paid a lot less than most places. Benefits that provide for their families, and retirement plans. And you know, this was also happening on the heels of the Guggenheim's artistic director, Nancy Spector, who was in the press for completely undermining Chédra Lebouvier, who curated the Basquiat exhibition. Lebouvier said it was the most racist professional experience in her life. And so we acquired these documents about the pay scales of all the workers in the Guggenheim. And I wonder if I have it here. Oh yeah, and we put it all on this website, the Guggenheim Transparency Initiative, which again is meant to look like it's coming from the Guggenheim in order to kind of like force a response from the museum if someone were to ask them like, oh my God, you're doing this, how interesting. And so included on this were these documents that we had acquired, which show unequivocally that there are racist and sexist hiring practices, or sorry, like payment, remuneration practices. So for example, in the Art Services and Preparatory Department, ASAP, the highest paid woman earns $3.81 per hour less than the highest paid man, despite having worked in the same role for longer than him. And then in the image that you're seeing, you have BIPOC staff members highlighted, and you can notice, you know, many of them who have been working for longer getting paid less than their counterparts. And so this is clearly, you know, a pattern with this institution. And so, like, again, it's sort of, we're trying to leverage this to get into the press cycle to get a response from the museum. And so, you know, this sort of thing rages on. We're still active, and, you know, of course, we're going to keep doing things on behalf of workers everywhere. But if you're interested in following some of these things that have been going on, there's these two great Instagram accounts, A Better Guggenheim and New Museum Union. They are just like wonderful accounts, and they talk about the whole sort of ecosystem, not just their own unionization efforts. So it's worth checking it out. And so, yeah, to be continued. We're gonna keep it up. And then, oh, and this is just evidence of how effective this kind of thing is. The pressure, mounting pressure works. And so this is from August 5th. The museum is now offering healthcare to part-time workers. And of course, they were sort of like lauded in the press for this, and they don't have to like apologize for all the things that they did, including firing the organizers who were pressuring them to do this to begin with, right? So it's important to kind of remember that there are a lot of sacrifices made in order to get here, but this sort of thing, it does work. And so that's it. So you can follow, oh, that's my Instagram. That's not Artists for Workers. We don't have one. We should make one. But you can follow us on Twitter and through our website. And as we, create more interventions and do more research and stuff, we're always looking for new collaborators. So you can reach out through that. So anyway, that's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you so much, Grayson. And thank you, Artists for Workers. So that wasn't my usual applause clip. So we've reached our final speaker here. Thank you so much to everyone for sticking with us. Really excited to share with you all Dina Kelberman. Dina is an artist, web designer, web artist, experimental web poet, and perhaps most relevant to me, maker of creative Chrome extensions. She's got some really excellent work to share with you, and will be joining us from California. Please give it up for Dina Kelberman. Yeah. Do you have your camera going, Dina?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, there you are.
Visible?
Yep.
Operating?
Operating.
Hi. I don't know how to use Zoom. This is I'm going to be like borderline incomprehensible right now because I'm not getting a lot of sleep, and my plan was to babble anyway, so this is going to be very babbly. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Hi, thanks for having me. My name's Dina Kelberman, and so Todd asked me to come on and talk about a project I just finished recently that I did with the band Negative Land. It's called discernment.crx, and it's a Chrome extension, like you said, that's kind of like a music video. And I'm gonna just sort of like intro my general shit first and then tell you about that. So yeah, I do a bunch of different stuff. A lot of my work is like, I guess it's web scrapey, but it's like manual scraping. This is a project I have called I'm Google, which is a Tumblr page where I just I've been doing this since 2011, and I just manually collect images from the internet and then string them together. It's like telephone basically, but visual. And I've been doing it just sort of forever, periodically, and it goes on and on. And I get to really like focus in on the boring, weird, colorful, mundane imagery that I'm obsessed with collecting anyway. This is another piece I did called Smoke and Fire that was an accumulation-y thing. This is for the new museum, sorry. And this is like, I went through a zillion cartoons and animated movies and stuff and got, and made GIFs out of them showing smoke or fire. And I kind of periodically update this where I put them in order, starting from little smokes, getting bigger and bigger, to eventually exploding at some point. This is a little laggy in Zoom, but hopefully you can see it. To big fire and down to little fire. I feel like this is running bad.
It looks okay.
Okay, you get the gist. So some of my stuff is, a lot of this is this collection stuff, and then some of it is like code based because I am / was, I don't know, I was doing web design as like my day job for a long time. So then I sort of was like figuring out how to make stupid art projects with that stuff. And I started doing these web poems as kind of these like doodly things where it's these kind of like little visual things, and then the text content is here in the code. Can you see that properly?
Yeah, we can
So
see
this
it.
example of one. This is another one called Pool. This is another one called Film. And at one point I was really into this, I mean, I guess I'm still into it, thing of messing with the visible code in the inspector, because that's just extremely fun. And I made this browser-based game. It's called untitledgame.xyz. You can play it there if you want. And the whole game is played in the inspector in the code. So basically, to even figure out there is a game, you have to go in here. This was because I was making these websites that were companion pieces to some like videos for Adult Swim that I had been co-writing, and we were making these website companion pieces, and the insane viewers were like immediately going into the code to find out all this stuff about it. And I was like, oh, people are looking at the code. That's really cool. I want to like capitalize on the fact that people are doing that. So eventually I developed this game that way. It's sort of based, you click on the screen some, but it's primarily like you have to interact with the code here. And it's like a kind of an overhead style deal. So like if you take this map, now you can go through different parts of this level and figure out what you're supposed to do. So that's some of the sort of like codey stuff I was doing before. And I'm always kind of I'm always like working at the edge of my ability where I really have no idea what I'm doing. I'm kind of just like, here's an idea I have, now I'll try to figure out how to do it. So a lot of these projects, I sort of like learned how to do what I was doing as I did it. And by the end, I have a better sense of how I should have done it to begin with, which is also applies to this next project. So probably this is like a negative landy crowd, I assume. I'm going to kind of talk about who they are in case people don't know, but I assume most people probably do. Oh, because we keep talking about culture jamming, and they actually coined that term. I've been really into them for a long time. They've been around since the 80s. They're the greatest. They're like a sound collage band. They're really funny, and they fuck with media and stuff all the time. And they're a bunch of weirdos. They put out this album, True False, last year that I was just obsessively listening to. It's so good. Everybody needs to go listen to it. It's amazing. It's one of their best albums, even though they've been going since the 80s, which is pretty crazy. So I was obsessively listening to this album, and I've been into them for a long time. And then a friend of mine actually was going on tour with them, and I was like, I want to make it, they don't have a lot of music videos. And I was like, I want to see if my friend can, I asked her, like, should I ask if I can make them a music video? And she was like, yes. And then somehow I had this idea. I don't remember how this connected. I'd been fucking around with Chrome extensions in the past, kind of not, like I just sort of learned that you can make them. And then I learned the basics of how to do that. And then I didn't know what to do with it. And then somehow I was like, well, what if I make this like music video a Chrome extension? That seems like a negative landy idea. One of the things that they are known for, to give an example of why this kind of jives with their thing, they had this song called Christianity is Stupid, which this is way back in the olden days. But they like sampled a preacher and it was like, it's just a very blasphemous song. But they kind of did this press thing. Oh, they had a tour they couldn't go on. They couldn't afford to go on it. And in order to explain that, they like pretended that their song had been linked to this kid axe murdering his family. And that they were being investigated for that. And that was why they couldn't go on tour. And basically all these news outlets picked that story up and kept running it, even though they had completely made it up. They were talking about people that didn't exist. And there was like no, it was just like, look, everyone copies and pastes their news stories. No one looks into anything. So, and that was, let's see, that was like in 87. So still an issue. so that's the kind of thing they're into. I contacted them just randomly, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great. Do that." And I ended up just talking to one of them. Mark Hostler is kind of the face of the band, because many of the other members of the band are like weird recluses or they're dead, or so he's more attainable. He's also the chattiest man on earth. So we had like many hours long phone conversations. I just started working on this project. They were really great to work with because he was basically just like, do whatever you want and show it to me and I'll tell you what I think and then you can take it or leave it. So we did that for a long time. And eventually, so it took forever because I had no idea what I was doing. And the process was completely insane. I guess I'm gonna show you a video of it. So it runs, it is a Chrome extension that you can download and run on any website, but doing that in Zoom gets kind of laggy and weird. So I had also made this video version of it where I edited together screen captures from a bunch of different websites. So you can just watch that without having to go through the whole rigmarole. And in this case, you'll be able to see it running on a bunch of different sites. So if it's cool to play that now,
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, I will full screen and you full screen.
Mm-hmm.
And here we go.
I think that discernment is very necessary here. A discernment is very necessary here, and we need a discernment. And we need, I think that discernment is very necessary here. I find this intriguing. I don't believe it. Intriguing. I don't believe it necessarily. Who can tell if it's true or not true? We don't have enough data. Who can tell if it's not true or not true? We don't have enough data. I think data is very necessary here. Where were we and where have we gotten to? Because you group over here want this, sure, we'll give it to you. You group over here, you want this, sure, no problem. You group over here want this, sure, we'll give it to you. You group over here, you want this, sure, no problem. We'll manufacture a whole smorgasbord of these events for the same purpose, or that are linking us up on the same inner dynamics, yearnings, and needs on a deep psychological level. Sure, no problem. We'll manufacture a whole smorgasbord. Sure, no problem. Where were we? Where have we gotten to because of someone's manipulation of us? Okay, so here, but that might be threatening. I think that would also be threatening. Two, let me finish, because it would say, two, a government, to a controlling entity. Two, let me finish. Okay, so here, but that might be threatening. Where were we and where have we gotten to because, okay, so here, but that might be threatening. Let me finish. Are we manipulable? Are we manipulable? Manipulable. Two, manipulable. Manipulable. Two, manipulable. Manipulable. I can't talk. I think that discernment is very necessary here. What is true, what is not true, what is real, what is fiction, what we would like to believe. What is true, what is not true, what is real, what is fiction, what we would like to believe, as opposed to what really is. And to be honest about it, I'm not here to drive you crazy. I'm here to get into some of these issues. Who are we? Where do we come from? Where are we going? What's the nature of reality? And to be honest about it, I'm not here to drive you crazy. I'm 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 here to be threatening. Two, let me think. Okay, I think that would also be threatening. Two, let me think. Okay, so here, but that might be threatening. A whole smorgasbord. And But discernment is very necessary here. So we need discernment. So we need, by the way, you can tell if it's true or not true. We don't have enough data. I find this intriguing. I don't believe it. Let me finish. You can tell if it's true or not true. We don't have enough manipulative. But I can't talk. I think it's important while we're trying to investigate and discern these mysteries. Is it or isn't it? 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 These mysteries. Is it or isn't it? Is it or isn't it? And discern these manipulative mysteries. That's one question. But there's another issue, which is what's going on. Why do we believe what we believe? I think that's a very important question to ask. You know, why are we prone to this or this? What buttons are being pushed by some of these issues, some of these questions, some of these stories, some of these questions, some of these issues? Why do we believe what we believe? You know, why are we prone to this or this? What buttons are being pushed by some of these issues, some of these questions, some of these stories, some of these questions, some of these issues, some of these questions, some of these stories, some of these questions, some of these issues? Why do we believe what we believe? You know, why are we prone to this or this? What buttons are being pushed? How does it plug into the mythology, the culture, the paradigms, the worldviews, what's going on? Why do we believe what we believe? Does that answer your question? 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 All right, you got any others?
That's the thing. What's it? No, now it's gonna play that other video. You can't watch that right now. You should watch that too. So that's sort of what happens in it. Like I say, when I have no idea what I was doing when I made that. I'm showing just to show you like my insane code. So everyone here probably knows how to code way better than me, and I'm genuinely interested because I'm sure I did this a stupid way. And if people are like, I know how you should have done that, I would really like to hear it. But so the way I did it was that I like in just jQuery, JavaScript, whatever, I like made a million functions doing each individual little thing. And then I made this huge function playing them all at different like, you know, times after the music started playing to sync up with the music. So it's this huge list of functions. And what was completely insane, other than the fact that I didn't know how to make what I was making, was that if you've made a music video or any video, you know that when you make the first chunk and then you move on to the second chunk, you can just click to where the second chunk is and work there. You don't have to watch the first chunk over and over. But the way that I had devised to do this, I had to run the entire thing to get to the part I was working on. So it's like if I was working on 2 minutes in, I would have to watch 2 minutes and then be like, oh, it didn't happen. And then like fuck with the code, watch 2 minutes, that didn't happen. Fuck with the code, watch 2 minutes, that happened but wrong. And like it would get exponentially longer every time, so that, you know, by the time I'm 4 minutes in, I'm like doing something else while I'm waiting for the 4 minutes to go, and then I'm like missing the 1 second 4 minutes in that I've been looking for. It was just like the stupidest and most insane process in the world. And also I was trying to make this thing work on like any website, and also look particularly good on a bunch of different websites that me and like Mark from Negative Land had decided we wanted to kind of like use as the primary example. So I would be like, great, I got it looking good on CNN. And then I'd go over to Fox News and it would like do nothing or something. So it was like this constant total nonsense. It's also the kind of project though, where like, it's actually extremely forgiving because definitely nobody but me can tell what is supposed to be happening, or if there's like an error, it's like totally fine, which I had to eventually tell myself over and over and over by the end. So it is now a Chrome extension you can find in the Chrome store if you search for Discernment or Negative Land, install and try running on wherever you want. The last crazy thing about making this is that I was was pregnant. I was working on this for like a year, and then by the end of it, I was pregnant, and I was like trying to finish it before the baby came out of my body, and I was like 10 days away from my due date, just frantically like almost done, like so close, and editing the video part and like finishing the code and trying to submit it to the Chrome store and failing because I'd never done that before, and there's all weird parameters. And 10 days before that it was due, my doctor was like, you have like low amniotic fluid. You have to come back and have the baby tonight. And I was just like, fuck. And I went home and I like finished the code and submitted it to the Chrome store and then went to the hospital to have a baby come out of my body, which ended up taking several days to happen. So I was like in the hospital, just looking at my phone to see if this extension had gone through, and also waiting for the baby to come out. And then both of those things happened, and it was a great success. The end. Now I can't hear anything if you're talking to me, but
I'm not talking.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if that was the end of that story or the end of what you were presenting.
No, that's all I got.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dina. Very happy to have you here. Let's give it up for Dina Kelberman. Woo! Oh yeah. Thank you so much, Dina.
Thank you.
Got some fans in the chat posting some other of your projects.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you here, and yeah, I know we saw a video of Discernment, but I do recommend still installing it and seeing it take over your own browser. It's a really unique, powerful experience.
Hopefully, it doesn't destroy your computer.
Oh well, that's just part of the art.
Or
That's,
yeah,
an added bonus.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. That's the end of our show. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'd like to thank again one more time Dina Kelberman, Sam Lavigne, Artists for Workers, Grayson Earl, and Miranda Samuels. It's a great set of featured presenters and a really amazing open projector. If we have any members of our open projector still here, thanks so much for starting off the show. Great. Yeah, we'll be back again. We're here on the third Thursday of every month. So our next show will be October 15th. Mark your calendars. If you have a project that's maybe in the works that you think could be good for the open projector, don't miss the next one. Come by and sign up. And yeah, I think that's all I have for you. If you want to support Baby Castles, you can go become a member on our With Friends. And if you want to join the WordHack email list, let me get that email list for you real quick. If you want to find out about future word hacks, make sure you don't miss them. I'll drop this link in chat real quick to hop on the email list. But yeah, that's all I have for tonight. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time.